Valen, thank you so much for that. Now, Johannesburg is seeing a rise in informal settlements as more people move to the city in search of work as well as housing. Officials warn that the rapid growth is putting pressure on basic services, water, electricity, even sanitation. Housing MMC Mlungisi Mabaso says the city of Joburg will not allow illegal foreign nationals to build informal settlements. He has been leading a campaign to audit most of these settlements. And he joins us now for more of this conversation. Ndunga, thank you so much for joining us here on AM Report. Let's just talk about this audit, if you'll allow. Good morning to you. How exactly is it working? Are you going house to house? Are you just trying to assess whether there are foreign nationals, the number of people in those services that they're receiving, etc.? Please give us details around this audit.
Thank you very much, Putin. Greetings to yourself and the viewers at home. Well, the audit and verification that we are conducting, we are doing it for the purposes of profiling and also to understand the people that are residing in the informal settlements, so that when we provide basic services, we know exactly who we are providing these services to. And part of the work that we are doing is that if you are found to be in the space and you are not supposed to be there, like you are undocumented, then Home Affairs will then have to deal with you. We work with Home Affairs, with social development and law enforcement agencies. But what we have also discovered in that in the informal settlements, we've got more tenants that are there renting to certain individuals. And those are other cases that we are also dealing with because we can't allow a situation where people uses government properties and privately owned properties, illegal connecting services, and charge people for residing in the informal settlement. So those are the kind of criminal elements that we are trying to curb through this audit and verification.
So does that mean you'll be evicting illegal foreign nationals from any of these informal settlements?
Well, it's not an eviction per se, because when you are found to be undocumented or when you are a foreign national that is not supposed to be there, Home Affairs will then take you, and in the process of that, then your belongings then must then be taken away so that they are not left unattended in the space. So your shack will be dismantled, your belongings will be loaded, and they will be kept in the safe space. So up until you come back and reclaim it. And if Home Affairs deport you, then it will remain in our stores. So it's not like an eviction per se, but we dismantle the shack of all the unattended shacks and unoccupied shacks. We dismantle them and we take them away.
So what does that mean for informal settlements? Is that you trying to eradicate them completely, meaning do away with informal settlements completely? Or is this just to reduce them or ensure that the people that are living in them are South African citizens? What does that do for housing?
Well, we want to have South African citizens in the informal settlement, so that when we provide services, we know exactly who we are providing services to. But second to that, we want to deal with criminal elements that occurs in the informal settlements, where people, illegally sell services that they do not pay for, where they charge people for rent in the spaces that they do not own. So that is the reason why, because what we have discovered is that in the informal settlement, we will do audit and enumeration. We will then provide basic services based on the database that we have in the office. And a few months down the line, we will then receive correspondence from leaders in the informal settlement saying that the services that we have provided is no longer sufficient to cater for the residents in the informal settlements. And when we go back to do another audit, then we discover that there have been additional households that have been recorded in the informal settlements, and that is putting a strain on the limited resources that we have in the space. And that's why we decided to go in the informal settlements to conduct this audit and verification. And what we have discovered there is that we've got a lot of foreign nationals that are residing in the informal settlements, and we've got a lot of tenants that are paying rent to certain individuals. And that is exactly what we are trying to address with this audit and verification.
MMC, does that not pose an even broader question? And in some ways is an admission of a failure to provide housing, though, because if we're going to keep on providing services to the informal settlements, as is supposedly the right then of a lot of people, the question then becomes, are we then not supposed to be providing them with housing, which is the whole aim of government itself? And if we're just going to leave them in the informal settlements, that's a failure and a dereliction of duty on your part, is it not?
Yeah, well, I think what we also need to understand is that provision of housing is a moving target. So every day you've got new people registering, but we are not allocating houses every day because building a house and initiating a development, it's a process. And that's why in Johannesburg, we are still battling with a backlog of that dates back to 1996, where we have not allocated everyone that had applied for a house in 1996 and 1997. With the programs that we have introduced, like your Southern Farms, that will deliver 43,000 housing opportunities. There is another mega project that we are working on, which has a potential to deliver 83,000 housing opportunities. But those programs combined, they are not sufficient to address the housing backlog that we have, considering that Johannesburg receives almost 10,000 people every month, and those people, some of them, they find themselves residing in the informal settlement. So those are the challenges that we are battling with. And if you couple that with the resources that we receive from both the national and the provincial government, it's not really sufficient for us to accommodate everyone that is in need of houses in the city of Johannesburg. But over and above that, what we are dealing with the informal settlements is not just normal invasions. In some instances, people are illegally selling these tents. These invasions are orchestrated, they are well organized somewhere, and that's why they are mushrooming very fast. And that's why they are even overstretching JMPD so that they are unable to respond in some of the invasion as and when they occur. So it's a lot that we are dealing with when it comes to informal settlements. So you've got those that are genuinely looking for spaces to stay, but there are those that are taking advantage of the vulnerable system, and they know that it's not easy to evict them once they've settled because of the court judgment that have set a certain precedence in terms of evictions and demolition of the structures.
Yeah. MMC, you've said previously that you will not sit back and allow illegal foreign nationals to build informal settlements in the city. Are you not worried that this approach may fuel xenophobia?
Well, it's not xenophobic to deal with anarchy and lawlessness. This thing of foreign nationals of occupying all our spaces. One informal settlements that I went to demolish the structures, we find a Mozambican that is owning a very big yard there. He's a landlord with many tenants. I think it's something that we should not allow in our country, and they are utilizing our services, not paying for those services, but he's making money out of there. So that is anarchy, that is lawlessness that we need to deal with. Home Affairs, border management, SNDF must protect our borders so that there are no illegal immigrants in the country. And once they find themselves inside the country, then we will have to deal with them when we find them in our spaces. And it's not xenophobic. We are trying to bring in law and order in the city of Johannesburg. And if others, they then regard that as xenophobic, then, it's hard luck to them. But what we are trying to do in Johannesburg is to bring law and order and also make sure that the little resources that we have is channeled towards South African citizens. It addresses the issues of services in Johannesburg. It also addresses the issues of human settlements in Johannesburg. So we are going to make sure that we invest in the spaces so that we are able to change the living conditions of our residents. And we don't want any undocumented people that we cannot account for to have access to those services because they are leaky, they are not sufficient, and we need to make sure that South Africans got access to those little resources that we have.
When can we expect the outcomes of that audit to be completed and then shared with us, and hopefully you can come on and actually talk about them as well?
Well, there are many informal settlements that we have targeted. Yes, we have started. We are still in Region F. and we'll be moving to other regions. Yesterday, I was in Region F again. Our focus was on Denver and Joburg, and we are going back there next week. And once we have completed all our informal settlements in Region F, we will then move to another region. So we've got 352 informal settlements that we are dealing with. So the program is going to take time, but we'll be patient with this process because it's a necessary exercise that we'll need to conduct. And after we have completed all the work, we will then issue out a report and information to the residents of Johannesburg so that they understand the extent of the problem that we are dealing with. But over and above that, we have also went for a legal opinion for us to understand the nature of the charges when we open the cases against the illegal landlords that are operating in the space. And we are happy with the outcomes of that legal opinion because they've given us a certain direction on how we should deal with the landlords in the informal settlement so that we arrest them because they are criminals that are robbing the residents in the city.